So this is the flowchart for my Stern-Gerlach experiment, and I split it up into equipment that I think I'm going to need. And first I should say what I understand the experiment to be. What I have seen, I watched a few videos and I looked it up on Wikipedia as well, so that there's going to be a stream of atoms. They use silver atoms, and they shoot them through these pair of magnets that produce a non-uniform magnetic field. And because of that, well, they weren't testing for it at first, but what they discovered was that rather than having this uniform dispersion of these atoms showing up on the wall, that they were being affected by the magnetic field to group into two spots essentially. And they concluded that from this that these atoms had to have an angular momentum or a spin, which they first saw was up and down, and then they switched the magnets. They put them on their sides, so they caused the atoms to go to the left and the right. So then they thought that they had up or spin in two directions, and that you could measure two quantities. But what they discovered is when they tried to go back and confirm that they had weeded out all of the down spinning atoms, or whatever the notation would be for that, that all of a sudden they had atoms again that were going both ways, even though they thought they kind of filtered them out. So what they concluded was that they can only measure one of the quantities at a time without destroying the results of the previous. I think I probably skipped over some stuff, but as I keep going, maybe I'll go back and explain what I think it is. But I think I'm going to need 3 pairs of magnets that produce this non-uniform magnetic field, so I can check that yep, they go this way, and then they go to the left, and then they go this way and this way, rather than just this way. And then I need something to produce this stream of silver atoms. I think the silver is in quotes because they used silver, but I wasn't sure if they had to. It was mentioned in on Wikipedia that silver was used because it had an odd number of valence electrons. So I was wondering if anything that was magnetic and had an odd number of valence electrons would work then, because maybe silver would be expensive. I'm not sure. And then we're going to need something to, or I'm going to need something to detect the silver atoms after they've been sent through the system of magnets to see, okay, yes, they're up here, or they're down here, or to the left or the right. And that seems like where Mathematica or the Arduino are going to come in, is collecting that data. And then the data that's going to be collected is how much, it seems like this would be something good to know, is how much silver is being sent through the field, and then what kind of non-uniform magnetic field is being produced. Does any kind work, or is it a specific one that we have to reproduce? Which axis of spin is going to be tested for? That seems pretty easy because it's just going to depend on how we set up the magnets. And then the position of the particles after they've traveled, which is the thing that's going to be measured by these. And then the theory to be shown, from what I gather, is that we're going to have to show that atoms have this angular momentum or spin, which is just going to be doing the experiment, and that these qualities can be measured only in one axis. And then I put a question mark here because I was curious. I couldn't tell from the way it was phrased if that was something that we now know you can only measure it once, and then when you measure it, it could change the thing that you measured before, or are they is it a technology limitation? Have we not developed a way that allows us to measure both of these quantities at once? I wasn't sure if there is also left and right spin along with the top or bottom spin, and we can only measure one at a time. And is that something where now that we have new technology, or people trying to figure out ways that they can measure both at the same time without impacting the other? I wasn't sure, but if that would be something that I'd appreciate you getting back to me on. And then on Wikipedia, that this spin is quantified as plus or minus h bar over 2. There's supposed to be an over 2 here. I'm going to add that really quick. For the electrons, and that's what the quantity is that we know. And then there was something in a video talking about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which we've been just starting to talk about in class, where you can't totally be sure about the position of something due to the uncertainty in the momentum. I think it's delta x, delta p is less than or equal to h bar over 2, I think is what it was. So I was wondering if this idea is something that should be shown in the theory section, that we can't really be sure about the spin until we measure it, or something along those lines. I think that's good enough for the flowchart.